Markets finished down a little bit today on renewed fears in the banking sector. So let's jump in, take a look at what's going on. And this is the first time in a while the markets have reacted to earnings, even though earnings aren't that bad across the board. The Dow finished down 1%, 1.5% on the S&P, almost 2% on the NASDAQ. Bitcoin continues to hang in at the 27 and change level, 27.45 to 27.9. We'll take a look at that chart in a minute. But one of the issues was First Republic Bank reporting record outflows and missing on some earnings, and reignited concerns about the broader sector. The shares tumbled about 40%. So we'll see if that bank is able to hang on. They, their guidance is they're going to be losing money for a little while. They were trying to sell as much as $100 billion worth of loans and securities to restructure the balance sheet. So, a little bit of turmoil in the banking sector. We saw Bed Bath & Beyond file for bankruptcy the other day, and we see companies providing earnings and, doing better than expected on numbers, but a lot of it is because of increased pricing, which is inflationary. So the markets are starting to, price in that Fed rate hike that's coming. And, the earnings, even though top line sales are beating, a lot of the underlying fundamentals are not good, and forward guidance in terms of, recessionary fears and concerns. So that's what the market is trying to price in right now and looking at. Here's the Dow. This was March, the 1st of April right here. Here we are on the 25th. The last time the market started its descent was around April 21st of last year. So the question is, are we going to see another, drop into the May, June, July months like we did last year? Sell in May or go away? That is what we are waiting to find out. So is this going to be the first move in that direction to retest recent lows? Here's the NASDAQ rolling over, S&P rolling over, or is this just a temporary pullback? And of course, once the Fed meets, their commentary is going to be important, as well as the rate hike. VIX catching a little bit of a bounce here. Whenever the VIX gets down to that, 16 level, that's a pretty low level. Generally, you can look for a bounce in there, usually right around 17, 18, but this time it got all the way down to 16. The Dixie catching a little bit of a bounce, 2-year dropping, 10-year dropping, again, recession concerns and things like that. So a little bit of capital rotation. Treasuries are down, markets are down. And let's take a look at gold right now, just kind of ranging a little bit. And again, gold had this big pullback in April of last year, just like traditional markets did. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. I got a few trend lines on Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin currently hovering right now at 27,931. The low range so far was 27,000, broke below 27 the other day. Still looking for that $25,000 test. I got a little consolidation going here. Most likely we'll break down and test that 25,000 level. Then I got a couple of trend lines we've been following. This is April of 2022, April of 2021. So will we see a repeat with what we saw the last couple of years? And this little price action here looks a lot like this area right here, going into April before that ultimate drop into June. So the question is, are we going to see that again? Was this enough of a consolidation accumulation to spark a new bull run, which a lot of people are calling for, that this is the new bull run that he's begun in Bitcoin. And potentially this could be the accumulation before a potential bull run, like we saw really from 2018, from 2018, basically November of 2018, all the way through before the pandemic of September of 2020. That was that whole ranging area of accumulation before the Bitcoin went off to that parabolic run after the 2020 pandemic bottom. And of course, my thesis was that the markets were on their way up back in January, February, before the pandemic side railed all the markets. I think the bull run would have began here. So if we take that time frame, just say from the bottom, let's go ahead and blow that time frame up, from the bottom of December 2018 all the way until right about this point, February of 2020. So a little bit, under 2 years of accumulation with big trading ranges. Ultimately, after the bottom jumped up into this first level here between 7,000 and peaking out, up to 13,700, but 7 to 10,000 range of accumulation before going on that run there. So is this enough, time period here where The real bottom came in November of 2022. And here we are basically, 8 months later, 7, 8 months later into April. So we haven't even been down in, the accumulation range for a year. Generally, you're going to need at least a year or more of accumulation. If you look at the past Bitcoin cycles before, that big parabolic move, even back here in 2014, 2015 timeframe, January 2015 up until about, I guess you could even go to this area here of August of 2016, almost a couple of years there, year and a half anyways, before that final bull run. So here's the trend lines that I've put together. And basically we have this trend line here connecting April, the last 2 years, rejecting right on that trend line here in April of this year, and then connecting the peak of November 2021 to the peak here in April, and just kind of seeing if price, is going to break any of these trend lines here. And then ultimate trend line from the low of March 2020, connecting the bottom of 2022, and kind of creating a trend line that price could potentially find support on here, which would be around that 19,000 range, which there's a lot of confluence in that range. If it broke 25, obviously 20 would be the next stop. And then there's two other trend lines connecting, basically this 2018, 2019 low range with the pandemic low range, and extrapolating that out with two, and then one going all the way back to 2017 before the bull run, connecting those lows with the 2018 low through the pandemic low, and all extrapolating out. And that would be a 7,500, 7,400 bottom. This would be a $10,000 bottom of major macro trend line support, potentially, if there were bigger, broader market contractions going on. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin in these trend lines and, previous price action. Ethereum, same thing, consolidation. This could be accumulation for the next bull market. XRP going through the same thing. I mean, all of the altcoins, pretty much everything going through the same kind of consolidation phase, waiting for the next bull run. So, the thesis and the talk, a lot of people out there are saying, and the consensus with a lot of analysts in the crypto space and institutional traditional market analysts are saying that, the bottom, a lot of people think the bottom is definitely in, that the bottom was put in back here at 15,000 and change back in November, and that now we are in a new bull market. My thinking would be that we're in a broader accumulation for another bull run, assuming that the broader markets, the broader economy, geopolitical, global macro environment remains stable and secure, and we don't get a deep recession, big market crash, or other geopolitical events popping up in the near term. So those are the things that I'm looking at. I'll see you in the next video.